Let's start and read some of the just three of the short quotations from the beginning of the book. Grover Cleveland, which one of my favorite presidents, office holders are the agents of the people, not their masters. And that's kind of the resounding theme, and yet somehow it's gotten turned around where the public servants have become the public's masters. And this is from Voltaire. The art of government is to make 2/3 of the nation pay all it possibly can pay for the benefit of the other third. That's a reality of what's happened. And finally, Thomas Jefferson, when the people fear their government, there is tyranny. When the government fears the people, there is liberty. And that's another theme in the book. It's not just about the pension liabilities and the financial costs and the financial burdens. It's about a class of people who have come to control us in many ways. And I find increasingly that we're fearing the government officials, and in a free society it should be the other way around. So I'm in Sacramento now. I'm starting an investigative journalism program and news bureau for the Pacific Research Institute, a think tank based in San Francisco. And we're going to be starting the Cal Watchdog program with the beginning of the California legislature, the new session in early January. And the whole idea is to keep an eye on government and to keep an eye on the unions that control Sacramento. And I've been at the Orange County Register for 11 years, and I still write a column for them, and I've covered government down here in Orange County. But now that I'm up in Sacramento, the capital city, the den of iniquity, I don't know. I thought I'd head up to this place. It's a nice city, but it's really a government city. And by the way, I'm not too worried that I'm not going to have enough to write about up there, given how well-run, efficient California government is. But one of my days in the Capitol, I'm driving from my apartment to downtown, and all around the city are these yard signs from the SEIU union. It says state employee and proud of it, and that just reminds you of a lot of the people who live in the city are government employees, union members, and they're quite proud of it. And then I got into work, and I couldn't get my city-run parking pass to work in the city-run garage, and had to go to City Hall and wait in line. And people were nice, but that kind of surprised me. But this bureaucracy, and then I headed to the post office. Where the post office in downtown Sacramento, you have to go through security gates to go to the post office to mail a letter. So there were 3 security guards standing there putting my stuff through an x-ray machine, and I waited in line, and I told the clerk that I wanted to get a post office box because I'm in the middle of moving, and he wouldn't give it to me because I needed 2 current address identifications to get a post office box, which I explained to him if I had 2 current identifications, if I had an address, I wouldn't need a post office box. Anyway, my point for relating these silly stories is not that I'm not afraid that we're becoming slaves. I'm afraid that we're becoming a nation of people who wait in line and follow these endless rules, and that this whole machinery of government that controls everything is run by a bunch of a coddled class of workers who retires at age 50 with $100,000 pensions. So that's the kind of world I think we're creating, and the book, those are kind of light examples, but my book goes into some of the really serious examples, the financial examples. The subhead is how public employee unions are raiding treasuries, which they're doing, controlling our lives. And they really have a lot of control, especially these are government employees who have a lot of control over our everyday lives, and they are bankrupting the nation. We can't afford to continue to do what we're doing. So that's my big concern. You know, the old deal was that government employees, they'd get lower pay, right? But they would get somewhat better benefits and more job security. That was the old deal. And I don't think there were quite so many government workers either at when that old deal was in place. The new deal is they retire with very large salaries, often $100,000 or more. Marcia Fritz and her California Foundation for Fiscal Responsibility has the $100,000 pension club, and in California it's more than 10,000 people, and there are a heck of a lot more that are pretty close to that. So that's the new deal, and they get cost of living adjustments. They get free health care, free courtesy of the taxpayers, and they get better pay. and especially federal employees who get much better pay. So that's the New Deal, and that's a troubling New Deal. Plus, they get fewer working hours. I know a lot of officials, especially in police agencies, have their 3/12 work schedules. They work fewer days because of stress. That was the excuse. We can't work as many days because of all the stress from our job. And then they have all these days off. So what do? They work overtime. And then in Orange County, that has pushed a lot of deputy salaries up to $150,000 and more. A typical deputy, because of overtime here, gets $100,000. And then in other agencies, try going to City Hall on a Friday, your City Hall. They're often closed Fridays or every other Fridays. That's because of the deals given to these public employees. They get more time off. So they get everything. They get more time off. They get more paid holidays. Plus they get special protections. And that's another theme in the book. These special protections are very troubling. For instance, consider the ironclad job security that public employees have. And often they get to feel superior to us also. I was reading in California, we have the state legislature has passed a special week celebrating public employees. And the example I use in my book, I wrote about how as a kid, I said to my mom on Mother's Day, I think it was, I said, how come there's no Children's Day? And she started laughing, and I pressed her for it. And she said, the reason there's no Children's Day is every day is Children's Day. Well, we don't need special weeks celebrating public employees because every day is Public Employee Day, and they get it all. And I'm looking at a couple public employees who are smiling, but there is a certain truth to that. And by the way, the government is still hiring. Despite in the public sector is getting obliterated in this down economy. People are laying off and cutting salaries, but the government's still hiring at the federal and state level. And there have been some cutbacks, some furloughs. In Sacramento, they do Furlough Friday and make a big deal of it, and at least traffic is low. And but despite some of these things, by and large, the government's still hiring and it's still expanding, and those cutbacks have been far less severe than what people in the private sector get. So how bad is it? I mean, we're in a world here in Orange County where a firefighter, often their total benefit and pay package is $175,000 a year. That's pretty good work. We have city managers making $275,000, $300,000 a year. They tell me they're like Fortune 500 executives. Well, they get paid that way. I don't think those bureaucratic jobs really are the equivalent of running a entrepreneurial enterprise where there's some risk and where you can actually get fired. And not that I don't think there are a share of incompetent CEOs, but at least it's with private money. And there's this expanding class of public safety workers. Public safety workers in the state get, in many jurisdictions, get what's called 3% at 50, which means they can retire with 90% or more of their final year's pay available as early as age 50. So we have a lot of folks who, if you start working at age 20 for a police agency, by the time you're 50, you get 3% times the number of years worked, 90%. Of your final year's pay. In California, they do it based on the final year's pay, not the average 3 years like they do in some other states, and available as early as age 50. You're in Orange County, general public employees in the county government can retire 2.7 to 55, so they get 81% of their final year's pay available at age 55. Now check your own 401k plans. I mean, you get nothing like that. And then this public safety is this expanding class. I know that the cooks at the prison system wanted to be considered public safety also. I'm not sure if they got it, but there's always this constant pushing of the envelope to expand the class of people that qualify for these high level of benefits. So one result is exploding unfunded pension liabilities. A very banal sounding term, but it's the debt that our kids and grandkids are going to have to pay to make good on all the promises that city council members and supervisors make to these unions that are quite demanding. So once a deal is granted, no matter how false the premises of the deal, I mean, if a union comes before a city council and promises that this new retroactive pension increase won't cost anything, and it turns out they weren't being exactly truthful, and I know that's shocking that a union might ever be anything less than truthful. It doesn't matter. Once the deal is granted, it's a vested benefit that must be paid for the 30 years or so of the life of the contract. So we get these exploding debts. It's very expensive.